All right guys, welcome back to Aussie Arvos. In this episode, we are finally going to be lifting this crummy old cab off the chassis and really getting a move on. So we've got a lot to do. First, we've got to start with pulling all these guards and panels off. Then we'll have to disconnect the engine from the cab and all that, all the electricals, plumbing and that sort of thing. And then we can hopefully lift the cab off and it all comes off easily. So I've never done anything like this before, so we'll see how it goes. So let's just start getting into it. All right. Let's start by taking the grill off. Like every other patrol, my grill is also held on with cable ties. This is gonna live on the wall until we're done.
It looks sort of happy without the grill on, doesn't it?
Looks like brum. All right, now with that, we can get to our quarter panel bolts. There's a fair few. There's like 2 here, there's like 5 or 6 along the inside of the guard in there, and there's a couple down the bottom, and then the guard should just lift off. And as we go, I will be making sure to label bags with bolts because we're gonna have a lot of bolts and things, I feel like, at the end of all this. So keep it all labeled as we go. Should make it easy to put back together. There we go. Oh, pretty light.
So this is the snorkel.
Yeah, it's a factory option snorkel.
Boy, it's real long and thin, isn't it?
Yeah, to fit behind there. That's one guard off, that was easy. Let's do the other one. Clear those lights. Driver's guard. Oh, they can go straight up for sale. Guards to suit Leafy GQ, because I won't need them anymore.
Are there many Leafys still getting around?
Yeah, a few.
Do you regret buying a leaf sprung patrol?
Nah, why would I? Not when you have to pay 15 grand to get a coil cab. Well, not always 15 grand, but nah. All right, before we can pull the doors off, we just got to take off the door cards and I'll pull the speakers out, that sort of thing, make life a bit easier. So if we do that, we can take the doors off both sides and take the bonnet off, and then we'll probably move it into the shed, I think. That's all it is.
What's happening with all these leftover parts?
My dad might use these doors because his doors are pretty knackered because he's got Leafy, or he's got a GQ as well. Guards, probably put them up for sale if anyone wants leaf sprung GQ guards, remembering that these don't fit a core sprung model. Bonnet, scrap it or put it up for sale because it's got a big dent across the front here. And yeah, everything else I plan on pretty much. Well, obviously the leaf sprung chassis, I've already had someone ask me about the suspension. And then in terms of diffs, I'm not too sure, or someone might be able to tell me, in the event that the diffs that I bought for the GU, in the event that they have the smaller LSD, which isn't as good, does anyone know if I can swap the big LSD out of the H260 into that diff? Because if that's the case, I will, because that was a pretty good LSD. So, and because it's a GQ one, it's obviously gonna be the big one. I'm not sure if it's because that's a Series 4 GU diffs that the LSD might be smaller and they're not as good. So if anyone knows. Other than that, what's next? Bonnet. This car seems a bit too easy to take apart. And that probably sounds stupid because obviously a car's just held together with bolts, but like, I don't know, just all comes apart very easily. It's good. No? All right, that's our scuttle panel. Have it. Well, that's all the panels removed. That's every removable panel. The rest is just frame.
I really wonder what it weighs.
Oh, it'd have to weigh, couldn't be over 2 tons, surely. I don't know. And the donk's like, say 500 kilos, because it's got bolt-ons as well. Oh, I don't know, maybe it would be close to. Diffs are heavy, chassis got to be sort of heavy, and the cab's still got to weigh a bit. Actually, I've seen 4 blokes can lift an empty cab.
Yeah, right.
So I reckon the cab on its own, oh, it's got sound deadening, but like if you had a bare cab, that'd only weigh like 250 kilos maybe.
I reckon that doing it on a car like this is probably one of the better cars to do this job.
Yeah, this is one of the easiest cars to do this to because it's so basic.
Yeah.
Nothing going on. Imagine if you had to pull out like every panel you have to pull out, there's like a sensor or something. So I then just hit the car interior and exterior with the compressed air to get out the dust and dirt before moving it into the shed. Oh, this is comfier than the GQ seat. See if he still starts. Last time turning it on. Bit hard to reach the clutch. All right, so the Patrol is now in the shed and this is its last resting place. So we are now going to start pretty much disconnecting everything from the engine in order to be able to lift the cab off. So yeah, I suppose we'll just literally get stuck straight into it and won't bother messing around because I mean, it'd be cool if we could like have it all disconnected by the end of today, but we'll see how we go. So let's get started. Now, before I started ripping everything apart, I made sure to take photos on my phone of all across the engine bay just to make sure that when I put it back together, I knew where everything went. I again made sure to label all the Ziploc bags and bolts, and then we're ready to tear this thing apart. How's my turbo intake looking? Pretty dusty on the inside, not gonna lie. I reckon this airbox, the lid doesn't seal well. I don't really like it that much. Removing a TD42 is actually a fairly straightforward task. Being an old diesel engine, there really isn't much going on, particularly in electronics, and so pulling it apart wasn't as difficult as I thought. So if this was a Ford, all these clips would break as you try to open them. Who was I speaking to? I ran into someone. I was telling about a Ford and I was telling how much of a bitch it was to pull it apart. And they said that they worked at the Ford factory when they worked at the plastic factory that made all the plastic for Ford. Yeah, like for all their clips and trims and everything. Yeah. I can't remember who it was. Beautiful. When disconnecting all the electric plugs, I made sure to label them all just so I knew which ones went back where. But this was actually a pretty easy task as there was only about half a dozen plugs to disconnect anyway. I was just saying to Patrick, and I mean I could be wrong, but it seems silly that the power steering lines run all the way along the bottom of the rad support just to come here and do a loop through this little like heat exchange and run back again. Like there's nothing on this side of the engine bay that they're doing. They literally just comes out of the steering box, runs all the way across, comes here and goes back. So I was wondering whether you could delete that, just get rid of it and just loop it from the steering box straight back up, but maybe it needs to come back through here to cool. I wouldn't know. Someone in the comments, you can tell me whether I need to keep that or not. Now there's going to be a lot of parts I will be reusing when putting the car back together, things like the radiator. It was all running awesome before I pulled it apart, so there's no reason to go and change it. So hopefully it all runs good when I put it back together. I think I might even also just drain the block while I'm here, which it actually will be sort of easy for me because I've run my turbo water feed off of the drain in the back of the block. So I'm just going to unscrew this hose clamp I've put on and then I can just dangle the hose straight down into the pan and it should drain the whole block. Oh, there's a lot of crap in here.
Oh, look at the colour.
Yeah, look, the radiator wasn't in the best condition.
It's like brown and sludge at the bottom.
The radiator itself, look, none of the fins are bent, so I just need a good clean.
But how does mud get in there?
Corrosion in the cooling system.
Okay.
Underneath my water pump has pitting. Pretty much anything that connected to the engine to either body or chassis needed to be removed. So a lot of things like power steering lines, brake lines, fuel lines, all had to come off. Do you ever think we'll be pulling an engine out of a car, Patrick?
No, I didn't. You know what the next thing we gotta do? Rebuild a motor.
Yeah, that's the next one. Take off my catch can. You could almost argue we're doing a catch can conversion because I'm changing the chassis. We're upgrading the catch can to a coil catch can. All right, handbrake cable. Never mind, all good. It's the sort of shit you should do before you bring the car inside. All right, so I think we've still got a couple little things to disconnect in the engine bay, but while I remember, I'm just gonna go around and put some WD-40 just on all of the body mount bolts because they are notorious for beginning to rust and, you know, getting, you know, just being stubborn. So I'm gonna go around and WD-40 them all. I just gotta pop off a few. There's a few rubber caps in the floor here that you just gotta pop off to get to them, but that should be pretty easy. And then with that done, I think the only thing we have to disconnect still is the steering column. All right, so I've also pulled out the, I don't know what they're called. They're like body safety pins. Essentially, my car's got 2 of them. It's essentially like a last resort thing to keep the body on. So like in the event of an accident or a rollover or whatever, if your body mounts, you know, blow out, essentially, like say like the floor pulls out or something like that, these are like your last resort holding the cab on. From what I understand anyway, so there's 2 of these under there just held in with just split pins. And it's like a loop that runs through the pin. And so you got to take them off, take the cab off. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. They just sort of sit there loose underneath the car in case, I don't know, in case you're ever in an accident. So yeah, make sure you pull them off. We then went on to remove the 6 body mounts that hold down the cab to the chassis. Little bit corroded. These will be getting replaced as well with new body mounts and bolts, just because I've heard it's one of those things that while you're doing something like this, you definitely replace these. I highly advise that you give these bolts a good soak if you do plan on undoing them. Generally, they would have never been undone in the car's entire life and they often rust out. All right, so ready to lift the cab off. Hopefully I've placed these in an okay position. I'm not really sure what the best way to do it is, but I think it should be pretty balanced. So we'll just go up slowly on the hoist. And as we go, I'll just be checking for obviously anything still connected and then also making sure that the cab's lifting off evenly. So yeah, all we can do is just go with it and see. So I'll just make sure as I bring it up first, I'll just make sure all my lifting pads are correctly seating on the bottom of the body, but.
Let's go slowly again, maybe.
Oh, it looks like it's gonna lift up the front easily.
Yeah, I think it's sounding good. Looking pretty good.
Oh, the body just wanted to roll. Probably should have chocked that.
Oh.
Something was that? That could have been the
I think it could have been something moving there. Oh, it could have been this making sound. I think it's just this pad slipping. Oh, we got some gear sticks too, Liam.
Oh, how are they?
That's pretty close.
Oh no, that'll be right. Yeah? Put it in first gear. Alright, I'll go up a bit more.
Yep.
We can put a steady stand under it if we... Oh, what was that?
That's all looking okay.
Oh, it could just be, watch that steering arm on that oil filter.
Yeah.
Is that out of the way? That's out of the way. I reckon it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's just this, that's all right.
Yeah, we're looking all good, my side. Yep. Yeah, we're looking good. Oh God, that is insane.
There you go. All right, well, we obviously checked everything well because there was nothing still connected.
I'm sure, I was like, oh, sure there'll be something connected, but we got it all.
Just connected everything, which is unreal.
I can't believe it's actually happened. It's actually off.
All right, so as you can see, body is off the chassis finally. So pretty major milestone we've hit here, and it all came off very smoothly. We didn't have any connections left over, so it's all come off awesome. Yeah, so now with that off, that's, other than pulling bits off the chassis, that's like all the major disassembling done, which is awesome. So next obviously will be to swing the engine and the gearbox as one over to the new chassis. Obviously we'll do a few little things in between. I've got to sort out a few new things like engine mounts and things, and I'm going to give this a bit of a clean up while it's out of the car and easy to access. But that will be next time. So for this episode, that's going to do it. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. yeah, it's been a hell of an experience just getting this far. Like, this is pretty crazy for what I've done before. So yeah, hopefully you're all enjoying it, and make sure you leave a like and a comment and get subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.